So my question really is this: how can you claim to be for freedom of speech, traditional liberal democratic values, while also using your other companies to promote and further the interests of the military-industrial complex? I'm Stuart Hooper, a lecturer in political science and PhD researcher. Please subscribe if you are new here to the channel, where I approach topics like this not from the left and not from the right. Here, you're going to get a critical perspective, something that tries to think right versus wrong, not right versus left. And that's really important when we're talking about a figure like Elon Musk, which has emerged as somewhat of a savior for the left in some regard and a savior for the right in other regards. Now, I personally am not an Elon Musk superfan, and I'm also not someone that thinks he is pure evil and absolutely out to get humanity. He's an interesting figure, and we can't really do a psychoanalysis of someone without them being in the room and having, of course, the expertise to do something like that. But we can compare the rhetoric of an individual versus the actions of an individual. Do these two things align, and what do they say about the person? Do they live up to what they're saying, or does it call what they are saying into question? So briefly, as I'm sure you are all now aware, Elon Musk to buy Twitter in $44 billion deal. Twitter said Monday it has agreed to sell itself to Elon Musk in a roughly $44 billion deal that has the potential to expand the billionaire's business empire. Now look, like I said before, I don't think Musk is the savior of humanity, and I don't think he's the epitome of all evil either. And I would advise all of you to also not take an absolutist position on someone like Musk. There has been somewhat of a cult-like following around him online, which I don't think is particularly useful. But he has said some very interesting things on some important topics. He's proposed the idea of making humanity an interplanetary species. I think that is absolutely a positive goal for us as a species on this planet. He's also said, I think, some very interesting and useful things on freedom of speech. And it sounds like he wants to bring Twitter back into a position where you're not afraid of what you are or are not allowed to talk about on the platform. Certain people, certain ideas, certain events that you are simply not allowed to talk about, or you are only allowed to talk about in a very curtailed, limited way. You can only really have a mainstream opinion on some issues on Twitter. Otherwise, you face the ban hammer. Now, I think doing away with that methodology of social media is probably a good thing overall. However, the question is, can this actually be done to an institution like a Twitter, which is a massive, bureaucratic, hierarchical corporation? Is it actually going to be possible to bring about these changes? I'm not entirely sure. And there are also some other issues regarding Elon Musk that I think require our attention, and they're not really mentioned in mainstream debates around what he does and what he talks about. And this is Musk's involvement in the military-industrial complex, which some of his other companies absolutely are intimately involved with. And this is, of course, the central theme of my channel here on YouTube, questioning this complex, this military-industrial complex, this set of vested interests in militarism. Musk is somewhat involved in these, and we have a few headlines which help to define precisely what that role has been. And we saw it most recently in Ukraine. Ukraine is using Elon Musk's Starlink for drone strikes. Elon Musk's satellites are connecting Ukraine with the internet. Starlink was conceived as a civilian program, but Ukraine's military can also use it to guide drones and strike Russian tanks and positions. It's worth mentioning again here that yes, we should absolutely be against the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but is a continuation of that conflict helping anyone at this point? The answer to that clearly is no. Just go and find any videos of what Mariupol looks like right now. That is not a victory for anyone. And the fact that we have Elon Musk involved in an active conflict means we have a transnational elite, which Elon Musk absolutely is, meaning that he doesn't really have ties to any particular country. His interests kind of lie above and beyond the nation state. We have a transnational elite that is therefore involved in helping to conduct a war. This is interesting, and this is a really big shift away from nation states conducting wars. Now we have corporate entities which are helping to conduct wars. This is really uncharted territory, and if you read anything around this issue, I'd recommend William Robinson's stuff, his book, The Global Police State in particular. This has some really potentially dangerous consequences for our world. But that is not all. Just take a look at this article from just a week ago. SpaceX, another of Elon Musk's companies, its Falcon 9 rocket launches spy satellites for a second time. And as we can see here, the rocket used in Sunday's launch of a US National Reconnaissance Office security payload was the same one that launched an NRO payload in February, according to the office. So this is where we have to be particularly critical, I think. What sort of values are you trying to promote, Elon Musk? Yes, free speech is great, fantastic, needs to be supported, needs more support than it currently has online. Yes, being an interplanetary species, great idea, great goal for humanity. But launching the spy satellites of the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, this is one of the most secretive agencies within the American government. That is not going to be used to spread values which are trying to promote humanity or spread freedom of speech. The NRO and its objectives and its technologies are primarily tied to militarism, the conduct of war to achieve policy objectives, not the conduct of peace. And another one here from a little earlier in the year, SpaceX signs a deal to rocket military cargo around the world. So my question really is this: how can you claim to be for freedom of speech, traditional liberal democratic values, while also using your other companies to promote and further the interests of the military-industrial complex? Which, if we just look back 2 decades during the War on Terror, has not really had a fantastic track record of spreading liberalism around the world. In fact, all it really has spread around the world is abject destruction and devastation. And Elon Musk, with SpaceX in particular, is now helping out that set of interests primarily concerned with using militarism, military force to achieve policy objectives. There is clearly a discontinuity here between rhetoric and action. This ultimately is why I'm not particularly excited or hopeful about the direction that Twitter is about to go in. Will Donald Trump perhaps be reinstated? Yes, I would say you can probably pretty much guarantee that. Will the changes go much further? Will there be topics that are no longer off limits? Will you be able to discuss certain topics from, let's say, extremely critical perspectives without reprimand? I'm not so sure, and I'm not sold on that at all. And in fact, now, if you really think about it, we have an individual that is a component of the military-industrial complex now in command of one of the world's major speech platforms. If we really think about it on a really critical level, that could actually mean a heightened degree of censorship on certain topics that really touch upon that set of interests that try to critique that military-industrial complex. So I think this is an interesting situation. It's something to keep an eye on, certainly, which we will do here on this channel. But hopefully this report has done something at least to enlighten all of you out there that we have to be particularly critical of all of these individuals and really compare rhetoric versus action. And I'm sure a lot of you have never heard about Elon Musk's actions with the military-industrial complex. If that has been useful, be sure to hit like, leave me your comments below. Would be super interested actually to hear comments on this topic. And share this video everywhere you possibly can. I need all the help that I can get to grow this channel, you guys. And honestly, for those of you that have made it all the way to the end of this video, there's only so long that I'm going to be posting videos that don't even hit 100 views. So there's somewhat of a timer on my efforts for this channel. I want it to succeed. I want it to take off. I want it to go well. I have actually some far bigger plans beyond just this channel. But yeah, I need all the help I can get to grow this channel. So please help me out. Get everyone that you possibly can to subscribe. Share the video everywhere you possibly can. Would appreciate all the help. Otherwise, you guys, I'll be back with another video this week, probably on China. China is involved with some very interesting international politics right now, involving the Solomon Islands. So look out for that soon.